Oh, what's up everybody? Welcome to Woodness Goodness. I am Graham and we are building a cabin that you could build, a cabin that I've just been barely able to build, a cabin that I've made countless mistakes on. And today we are going to talk about how much money I have spent so far. All right guys, let's get into it. I really don't know how exciting of a video this will be, but we're gonna go back in time to when I started this cabin, which, believe it or not, is almost 6 months ago, or it might actually be 6 months ago. So we've been working on this for quite some time now. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a learning curve. Before college or after high school, there was a time in my life, somewhere in between there, where I learned how to frame houses. I didn't frame houses for super duper long. Obviously, it's been a long time since I did that, but a lot of that knowledge I did bring with me to building this cabin. And I've always enjoyed doing DIY stuff. So that was basically my education in terms of working with my hands and woodwork, etc. So this is my first big construction project. And I've made a lot of mistakes. I've certainly had my fair share of learning experiences on this cabin so far. It's been a lot of fun, and the cabin is really coming together, and it looks awesome. Anyhow, so we're gonna talk about budget and what I've spent so far on this cabin. So I think it's pretty accurate in terms of what I've spent so far, but give or take maybe a couple $100 on the more expensive side, because I know I've done a couple runs to and from Lowe's to pick up, a sheet here or something that I forgot, so let's go rewind back to the start. So right off the get-go, I roughly spent $360. So say worst case scenario, $400, and that was concrete, rebar, my foundation tubes, basically everything I needed for these 9-pile foundations that I poured and set in place. And also, the biggest expense in there was an auger, and I think that was about $250. So like half the expense right there was a tool that I just went out and bought instead of renting, because I'm like, I'm gonna use this again, and I've used it a lot. So if you're ever gonna do post holes or anything like this, the auger was a really good expense. Floor joists and subfloor, I spent $1,000, and so those are all my beams. I basically stuck together 2x10s, 10-foot 2x10s, two together to make these big beams that run the length of my cabin. And I guess I was trying to mimic my basement. So in my basement, I noticed that the support structure for my floor joists were these big beams, and they had, they laminated essentially these 2x12s together. And so basically I tried mimicking that for my cabin foundation. Obviously, I could have probably simplified it and just ran rim joists around it and put hangers, but I was kind of going off of what I saw, what I thought, and also what I didn't know. So anyhow, $1,000 got me my beams, my floor joists. It wasn't the best way of doing it, but you know what? Like I said, it works and it's strong, and it's my first project. Oh, and that also got me my 3/4 inch sheathing, or my floor subfloor, which is good. And again, another little mistake is I should have staggered my subfloor, because it's tongue and groove subfloor, but I didn't. I just kind of put it on like a grid. Studs, walls, OSB sheathing. This is kind of, there's some random stuff in random order. I'm just trying to do this. So I spent about $800 on my initial purchase of my big wall, my smaller walls, and my OSB sheathing. That price seems to be a little bit low. I'm sure I missed a couple receipts on there. So maybe we'll say $1,000 on studs, walls, OSB sheathing. I mean, all 4 walls essentially is what it got me, as well as OSB sheathing. Roof structure, rafter ties, sheathing, the roof underlayment, and I also added here OSB and the rigid foam insulation. I spent 1,300 bucks on all that. And like I said, that got me my roof structure, my 2-inch insulation. That also got me my roof underlayment. And this roof, even if the metal fails, I'll never know because I literally have 3 basically waterproof things going on. I got my roof underlayment, which went immediately onto my sheathing that I put on the roof. So I got a waterproof underlayment. Then I have my rigid foam 2-inch insulation, which is taped with tuck tape, which is waterproof. And then I have sheathing on top of that. And then on top of that, I've got the self-sticking adhesive underlayment, which is also waterproof. And then my roof ended up going on that. So I got a lot of waterproofing going on, which is great. 1,300 bucks for the roof structure. Metal roof, I spent 900 bucks, but probably around 1,000 bucks because I got a couple of the wrong pieces shipped to me and they upcharged, or I don't even know if I got upcharged, but I basically had to go back and buy a couple more things. I also added too many roof screws. That was a mistake. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I definitely have more roofing screws in my metal roof than I would have liked. So now we're on to Cedar shakes, Tyvek, window flashing, staples, and window trim, which is mostly pressure treated. That's almost 2,000 bucks. So the Cedar shakes, which are these bad boys, which are really awesome. They look really good. These are, I've said it before, but they're not the highest quality Cedar shake you can get. I think they're called Black Label, or 4th grade or grade 4 Cedar shakes. You can get all the way to 1 grade or grade 1. I don't know, premium #1 Cedar shakes. Those are obviously a lot more expensive, but these still add up. It's 25 bucks for, a bundle, and a bundle basically goes, I don't know, like 20 feet with a 6 to 7 inch reveal. So I have gone through quite a few of those. So I've tallied up around $1,800 for, like I said, the Cedar shakes, the roll of Tyvek, which was 100 bucks, window flashing, which is I think $10 a roll, and it does 30 feet. And I've obviously made a couple mistakes where I've actually had to rip some off. Staples for my crown stapler, which is how you get the Cedar shakes onto the cabin, is with those medium crown staples. If you do a narrow crown staple, I don't even know if it's called a crown at that point, but it can split the cedar. And so with that wider staple, you're able to get those holes that are going into the cedar far enough away from one another that it won't split your cedar, because cedar splits really easily and it's thin stuff. So yeah, 1,800 bucks on that. Hopper windows. So the only windows that open and I spent money on are above here, because the rest of the cabin is commercial windows that I got for free, and that gives you those beautiful vision and view into the woods. It's absolutely gorgeous. But I need windows that open, so I put 6 windows that are hopper basement windows, because they fit perfectly in my openings that I originally had planned for some windows I had prior to. But again, if you haven't seen that, go back and you'll see that I framed out all my walls for windows that I received for free, and thank God it didn't work out, because these ones work way better and they look better. So I have 6 hopper windows that I spent money on. I also included a $130 door handle in this expense, which was 600 bucks for the windows and the door handle. The door handle I still have to put on, but that's a coated quick set that I still have yet to install. 2 tools that I ended up buying that were musts. So the framing nailer and my stapler, the crown stapler, which was an absolute necessity to get the cedar up. So those 2 tools ended up costing me about 400 bucks. And then last but not least, about 80 bucks on exterior paint. And I still have a lot of exterior paint, and that basically is this trim color that you see here. I painted my fascia. I will also end up painting the pressure treated trim on that window wall with this same color. Roughly, I've spent 7,500 bucks so far, and we are almost done. I wanted to do this video after I got my cedar siding fully up, but no one carries it, and I keep running. I run out, and whenever I go out, I buy what I think is gonna be enough. But also, when I go out and buy it, I clear them out, because the lows around these parts, they don't carry this. Like, I don't know why, and if they do, they have like 3 stacks or 3 bundles, and most of it's not very good. So it's kind of frustrating, but I did find a Lowe's within an hour of my house that does have a bunch of this. So I'm just gonna go and buy as much as I can, because it would be nice to finish this exterior. But anyhow, there are a couple little more things I have to do on the exterior. So a little bit more cedar, so maybe another couple $100 will add to that $7,500. My metal roof kind of trim that goes from my metal roof to my kind of gable ends and my fascia, it wasn't quite long enough. And so you can see some of the strapping if you kind of look under, and obviously the back wall you can see. I don't know if anyone's taken notice, but you can see the strapping because that I don't know, that end piece for the metal roof does not come all the way down. Kind of frustrating. So I'm gonna have to stick up some metal flashing to kind of protect that fascia. Give or take some expenses, I spent $7,500, maybe 800, or $7,500, maybe 8,000 by the time I get the rest of the cedar up and some little bits of trim here and there. So basically what you see is about $8,000 worth of cost. I did have a couple things already, you know, a couple bags of concrete, some tools obviously, but yeah, I mean, 8,000 bucks. I mean, when I say $8,000, obviously $8,000 is a lot of money. However, I've spent this over the past 6 months, but A, if I'd hired someone to do it, I wouldn't have learned anything. 2, I've learned a heck of a lot, and I would probably pay twice that to pay someone to teach me all this. D, if I was not to do this, well, it wouldn't have given me all this fun, this cool YouTube channel that I've had a blast creating and having fun talking to you guys all about this project and all things cabins. And lastly, yeah, if I was to hire someone to do it, it'd probably cost me 50 grand. I don't know, that's just an estimate. I mean, it really, let's be honest, it could probably cost $500,000 for a cabin this nice, 2 million even. So yeah, guys, I hope you guys like this little cost update. I will do another one when we do the inside to give a what it costs to make the outside to what it costs to make the inside group together. Like I said, this isn't super duper accurate. It's probably 95% accurate on what I've spent on the outside, because like I said, sometimes you do those like little random pickups. Oh, I need this or I need that on the way home from work, and you just quickly grab something from Lowe's or Home Hardware or whatever. Home Hardware, that's for my Canadians. Home Hardware, baby, I miss you. So guys, I hope this was kind of fun and a little insightful in terms of, you know, what you can do with $8,000 if you have it and you want to spend time and money on building something like this. Obviously it's not done. I'm guessing I'll end up spending maybe around $15,000 building this thing. Big expenses that I know are gonna come up are, you know, doing the rest of the insulation. I do have some insulation from a project left over. And then, you know, like adding like nice lighting. And I'm gonna install a mini split DIY HVAC system on the wall in there, so that will give me my heat and cooling. I'm not gonna do a fireplace. I know it would be cool to be having a fire in the woods like this. It's gonna be an office as soon as I'm done with this, especially with everything going on. I need a place to kind of work out of. And that's actually what I got the permit for an office. So putting a fireplace in there doesn't really make sense, because there's a lot of codes and regulations that you gotta worry about when you put something like a fireplace in there. So with the mini split, I'll get my heat and my cooling. It will be efficient, it'll look cool, and I'm excited to install that. As always, guys, thanks for watching, thanks for hanging out. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.
You are my sunlight.